Okay, so we'll get started. Hello and welcome to our new episode from our What's New webinar series. This is designed to summarise and take you through the changes that have been made to Colleague as part of our latest release. That's 24.03.02. For this session, it's going to be pre-recorded due to me being on leave next week, but the subscribers of the What's New series will be sent a copy of this session as intended. So let's get started. So yeah, going through the usual chain of events, essentially what we'll be working through here is a rundown of the release notes. So just to highlight, the release notes are available to anyone. Essentially, they'll be available off the notifications, but they're also available off the help section. If you go to the help section there, you'll see the release notes being available here. Top left hand side, you can click for more information there, and then you can see the release notes being shown. And what we'll be doing is basically just going top down through these release notes and essentially working through each point and explaining what the change effectively is. So starting with the first update, which is to do with the leads tab on the company and contact record. So leads ultimately has been a section that got added to the system a little while ago, ultimately, and feedback has been coming through with regards to the use of leads. But ultimately, leads can be either a standalone record or they can be obviously linked with companies and contacts. As it should be. So what we were always needing is there to be a lead section on the company and contact record, which would show obviously leads that are linked with those records, and that's what we now have. So on a company record, provided you've got the leads feature enabled to be shown based on user group permissions, you'll see a lead section in that tab, or leads tab in the company record and contact record. And within that section, you'll obviously have columns that you can define through options. Obviously, these will be links through to their associated records, icons that obviously take you through into the lead or to the associated contact, and an option as well to click and create a new lead as well. As well as that, you can obviously filter leads by their various different statuses as well. So that's an option too. But if we hit new lead there, that will create a new lead, obviously for a contact, or sorry, I should say a company with the contact being left empty. The alternative route is to see it from a contacts perspective. So if you're in a contact record, you obviously have a leads tab now there as well. Click on that and obviously it will give you the leads linked with that contact. And if you created a lead from here, then the new lead record that is created will obviously be mapped to that contact and company as well. So it's probably ideal to create it from the contact record to save time with regards to that. But essentially all that other workflow from creating a lead onwards all acts as the same. The key thing here is obviously the ability to see those leads from the record and yeah, effectively be able to access those leads from there. So that's the first part. The next item along is bulk emailing from leads. So again, sticking with leads and our progress in terms of refining this functionality as time has gone on. Obviously, what has been lacking is the scenario of being able to bulk email leads, which is what we've addressed in this release. So from a lead selection search result, you'll now be able to select various different leads as you need to, and then you can obviously hit email there. That will create an email going off to the all of the email addresses that obviously linked with those leads will be shown in this area, and then obviously you can enter your email, or you can obviously use a template as well based on whatever content you wanted to send and save. So effectively bulk emailing leads is possible. Also from the lists area as well. So if you've got a leads list that you've set up, see you've got leads there, you can select either individual leads or specific leads. Again, hit email and that will create an email that's obviously addressed to all of the email addresses of that lead. Again, not to point out the obvious, but each email address obviously represents a separate email going to that individual person and not an email that's going to all of them. But yeah, effectively that functionality has been added now into the system as well. Next along is to do with documents. So this is updating the Word document export process essentially. So historically, when we've been creating formatted CVs, from the system. Close down that and that, move on to this one. When we've been creating formatted CVs on the system, we've done so using some code that's been perfectly functional up to a point, but it's become more and more relevant and apparent to us that there are different CVs with different formatting and scenarios that effectively mean that it doesn't come out looking as well as we'd like when that formatted CV is generated. So yeah, effectively what we've now done is update that creation process. So on a candidate record, from the create document option, and if we use the formatted CV template that we have in place there, effectively what we've got now is a mechanism that is better suited to dealing with paragraphing and dealing with bullet points, and just dealing with those kind of characters that are forever present in CVs. So basically paragraphing is now better handled, and ultimately the wording of work histories that have been copied in is better handled as well. There's more paragraphing and spacing and management of that data as well, rather than it showing it in a kind of full line, or the paragraphing or the text, should I say, being batched together in a way that perhaps it previously was. So yeah, that's essentially the crux of the change. Just the formatting of this data as it's being shown, the work history and the educational history that has been created into a format CV is just now in a better structured content for obviously formatted CVs to be created. That's that one. Next one along is scan document, which has been an important one that's been outstanding for a while for us, and that effectively means that when you're on a candidate, and if you've received a updated CV, where they've given you an updated CV, things have happened, they've been in different job roles and so on. There is now workflow. Obviously, there's always been a workflow to kind of scan the document from a skills perspective. So you can obviously scan a document and bring through the skills that are found and relevant in that record, and obviously save those skills. But what we've now added is the option to scan it from an experience perspective as well. So you can scan a CV. If I pick on this one, that scans it, essentially performing a parse, where it's parsing that document and bringing through the experiences that it's found. So the references to education, the references to work, and ultimately giving you an ability to obviously create in bulk or create individually. If there's already existing ones in there that is duplicates to existing experiences that have already been added, it will warn you, and it'll obviously prevent you from saving it. But otherwise, you can hit save there, and that'll actually create the experience records that obviously are relevant to that new CV that's come through. So that's the scan document option that's been added now to the candidate record, specifically on the experience tab. You've got that option there. Next along is to do with timesheets. So that's the new timesheet option. So effectively on a placement, if I go to a placement record here, we've got an option available now when we're timesheeting. So previously, when you've done timesheets in the system, the options for timesheeting have been a weekly timesheet where it's just for the week and you've got individual dates of the week, a monthly timesheet where it's you've got 4 to 5 days, or calendar. 4 to 5 days is if the month ends kind of midweek, but you still want it the timesheet to consist of the entirety of that week. It will sort of keep the timesheet for the fullness of that period. Or you've got monthly calendar, which is going basically from the start of the month to the end of the month. But with these two monthly options, they've always been split based on the week commencing date, as opposed to the individual days. And that's the new one that we've added now. Monthly days is the one that we've added. And what that basically means is that when you create a timesheet now for a period, it literally is a timesheet where it's listing every single date of that month. So you have all the days listed. And obviously you can add in whatever you want to add with regards to that. So you can be quite specific now when you're doing a monthly calendar timesheet in that you can say that, you know, for certain days they weren't there, for certain days they were there, and it's not just a generic they worked 5 days of that week or 4 days of that week or so on. So that's essentially the crux of that update there. Everything else kind of falls into line. The invoice generation, the processing of the timesheet from there on, it obviously all works on the units anyway. But yeah, effectively you have that ability now to create a monthly timesheet which is individual date based. The carryover option is regards to placement custom fields. So if I go to admin and I go to custom fields, specifically for placement, this is carryover is a kind of term, a phrase that's used with checklist items generally. So when you're extending a placement or when you're amending a placement, the data of that placement that's held within the placement, you have the option of whether or not you're going to carry over that data or whether or not it's going to essentially be a blank, you know, either a blank checklist item or a blank field in this case now, when you're doing that workflow. So with regards to custom fields on the placement now there's now this option called carryover, and that basically just means that when the placement is amended or extended, you have an option as to whether or not you want the data of that custom field to be just copied over to the new placement that's being created by that workflow, or do you want it to be you know, blank and not included as part of that carryover. That's based on this setting now. Next one is to do just with hyperlinks. So that's quite a small update really, but it's just helpful on the you know, on recent items, on quick searches, on lists. When you're viewing these search results or the results in this kind of format, historically only the placement has really ever been a link. The email address, to be fair, is a link to open up the email form, and the telephone numbers are always a link to the click to dial, but there have been other elements that have not been links. So the ID, the company name, the contact name, that they've not been links. But what that basically means now is that when you're looking at a record through this mechanism, and for example, if you were looking at a placement, you'd have the option obviously to access the placement ID, but you'd also have an option to click on the company as well, or the contact record you could open, the candidate record you could open. So again, it's just giving you a method of being able to drill down into whatever relevant records you want to drill down into in a single section. And that's the same for all these areas. There's some other ones as well, that the address link one, that location one has become a link as well. So if you click on that, it will open up the location into Google Maps, for example. But other than that, yeah, effectively it's essentially these links that have been added, just these extra options against the fields that you're seeing in this area. Next one is to do with the portal. So on the portal, when you are, I'll log into, if you're using the portals, ultimately there's now a new save as draft. So if the candidate, or should I say contractor, has logged into his portal, his or her portal, and gone to add a timesheet, the new feature that's been added now is the save as draft option, and that's basically to say that it's possible for a timesheet to be sort of started, if you like, and then they can just save that as draft, and then it's in a draft format. That basically just means that they can then, you know, reopen that timesheet, finish it, and then when they're ready to submit it, just hit save, and that kind of submits it then for approval. So the save as draft is the essentially the option that's there, and obviously they can keep editing the timesheet as they want to, keep saving it as draft over and over until they reach a point where obviously they want to then submit it and hit save, and that obviously just allows it to be submitted. So that's the new workflow with regards to obviously creating a timesheet via the candidate portal. They've got a save as draft option as well. The other component, which is less exciting, to be honest, is to do with the showing of a contact rate. So yeah, effectively when you're on a placement, again, these are portal options. You have lots of different portal options that can be utilized here, including the standard rate has become an option for a while now for the candidate portal. So that when someone's on a candidate portal and they're adding a timesheet, you can choose whether or not the standard rate is shown or whether or not the just the overtime rates are shown. That's a kind of a technical feature, but yeah, there's now an option as well to exclude the standard rate for the contact as well, so that can be set to no. And then when the contact logs in and they're looking at a timesheet, they don't see this standard rate column anymore. So that's some an option that some clients will use. From a bug fixing perspective, again, we continue to refine the product based on feedback and issues raised. So if you've raised any points specifically regarding the functionality in the system that's not been correct, we've been working through some of those items there. Feel free to take a look, but obviously it's not something that we demo really. But yeah, effectively that's the run through of what we're working through in the what we've worked through over the course of March. On to April, and again we'll do another what's new session off the back of April's Sprintworks as well. Please send through any questions that you have. Apologies that this has to be pre-recorded in this way. Normally it would have been done as a live webinar. That will be the format moving forwards. It's just that we've had to do it this way because I'm on leave, and that's just a necessity for it. So speak to you again soon. Take care, and if you've got any questions, just send them through. Take care. Thanks a lot. Bye.